It's Tuesday morning, November 26, 2019. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. And Lenny, you did such a great job with your show. I wasn't able to tune in at the beginning, but I was able to tune in. And another great day, another great show. And wow, what news. So it looks like I got to turn up the voltage. It sounds like I'm going to be in a magazine. Oh, wow. What are we going to do with that? Just same thing we've been doing. We're going to talk fantasy sports, right? We're going to talk fantasy baseball this morning. And, I left you yesterday with a little, hopefully, a little excitement in the White Sox. Yeah, and so I want to dig deep this morning. And I want to talk about the Chicago White Sox because I really think they have got the tools to compete and contend, not pretend, in 2020. And I want to talk about some of their prospects, and let's dive deep into it. First of all, I want to talk about Luis Robert, who finished the year at AAA last year. He's an outfielder, born in 1997, so that makes him 22 years old. He's a right-hander. He signed with the White Sox in 2017. Out of the top 100 prospects by MLB, he is ranked number 3, and he is the number 1 outfield prospect. He does it all: hit, power, run, arm, field. And looking at his stats from last year, he started the year at single A, played in 19 games, 75 at-bats, 34 hits, 8 home runs. He had a .463 average at single A. Now, he had finished the year before in 2018 at single A in the Carolina League playing for Winston-Salem. I got a chance to see him. I've got autographs galore from him. He's a good kid, comes up to you, very personable. Called up to Birmingham. He played in 56 games there, continued to rake 8 homers there, 21 stolen bases at Birmingham, .314 batting average, and finally his last stop was in Charlotte, AAA, where he played 47 games, 202 at-bats, 16 home runs. That's right, 16 home runs, 39 RBIs, and he hit .297. So overall, at all 3 stops, single A, double A, triple A last year, Robert ruled. He 36 steals at all 3 levels, a .328 average at all 3 levels combined, a .624 slug, a 1.001 OPS. He hit 32 home runs, 11 triples, 31 doubles, scored 108 runs in 122 games. Now, I know we're talking about minor leagues, but that's all we got to look at here, okay? He's not a switch hitter. He has a lot of similarities to Yoan Moncada, though, who set the amateur bonus record with the Red Sox. He has electric bat speed. I've seen him play. I've seen the kid play. He looks like a player. He stands out among other good players. And the White Sox, they're loaded at the minor league level, or at least they were. Okay, now he does have a strikeout propensity, but he more than makes up for it when he does make contact. Let me tell you, folks, it is electric. Luis Robert, write it down. Fantasy Drafts 2020, pick him up. It'll be worth your while. Here's another player. Nick Madrigal finished the year at AAA. Okay, Madrigal was the College World Series MVP at Vanderbilt. Okay, Oregon State. Where did I get Vanderbilt from? He was a Pac-12 Conference Player of the Year as a sophomore in 2017. He has great hand-eye contact. He's the number 40 top prospect and number 3 at second base. Yes, he's a second baseman. He's going to be playing for the White Sox this year. He finished last season with the Knights. He did the same thing as Luis Robert. He played single A, double A, triple A. 49 games at single A, and during that period, he hit .272. At double A, Birmingham, 42 games, and he hit .341. And at triple A, Charlotte, in 29 games, he hit .331. Overall, a .311 average. Now, he's not a power guy, only 4 home runs. But he does provide speed, 35 stolen bases. and great contact. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at how many strikeouts he had. He had 6 at single A, and how many at bats? 191. And 164 at bats at double A, 5 strikeouts. And at triple A and 118 at bats, Madrigal struck out 5 times. Total, let's give it to you, 473 at bats, and Nick Madrigal strikes out 16 times. Now, he's a perfect number 2 hitter. He makes contact. He puts the ball in play. He hits for average. He has speed. He played shortstop at Oregon State, but then moved over to second base. And how about this? He has a moxie about him. You have to watch kids play. You know, Lenny, you go down to Arizona, you watch these kids play. I watch a lot of minor league ball, single A ball, because there's a ball stadium basically just down the road from me. I go watch a lot of games, a lot of teams in the Carolina League. The White Sox are in the Carolina League. I get to see all these kids come through. I've seen Eloy Jimenez. I've seen Luis Robert. I've seen Nick Madrigal. I'm telling you, Madrigal has a certain knack. He knows instinctively what to do on the field, and he's going to be a great player. So there's your second base. And you saw where the White Sox released Sanchez, the third baseman. Well, understand why. Madrigal's going to play second base this year. They're going to move, or they have already moved, of course, last year, Jan Makata to third base so that Madrigal can play second. Luis Robert is going to be playing in the outfield. There are other players yet to come. Michael Kopech on the mound, who has a fastball rated at 80, curveball at 50, slider at 65. That tells me he's a fastball slider kind of guy. Came over in the Chris Sale trade, got hurt, didn't pitch at all last year, but he has a sinking changeup as well. And when he did pitch in 2018, at the major league level, he was electric. Kopech will be, along with Giolito, in that rotation. And I heard Lenny talk about White Sox possibly adding Rendon. I guess that is a possibility. Anything's possible. That's why we talk it on the podcast, right? But here's the thing. Don't you see them going for an ace pitcher? With all the young talent with the bats, I just see them going for an ace pitcher. And there are more prospects to come. I mean, I haven't even talked about Andrew Vaughn at first base. You know, the White Sox just signed Abreu to a 3-year extension. Andrew Vaughn at single A, I watched him play last year. Winston-Salem, he hit .252. He's fairly highly touted. He's number 21 prospect, the top first base prospect in all of minor league baseball. So look for Andrew Vaughn in a few years, probably near the end of the Abreu contract in year 3. I look for Abreu to be more of the DH and Vaughn to be the first baseman. Give him a couple years. He's going to be up. They just keep retuning and replacing Steele Walker, another single A player I watched play last year. In 383 at-bats, he hit 10 home runs. He hit .269. At low A, he hit .363. He's an outfielder. He's their number 6 prospect. And again, just another player look to funnel through that system. The White Sox are doing it the right way. I can see them now trying to add a pitcher. They've added Grandal. Grandal, a big first step. Okay, now I know Grandal as a catcher has strikeout propensity. I get it. They signed him to a 4-year, $73 million deal, the largest contract in franchise history. Now, why do they get Grandal? Well, certainly they want stability behind the plate, but they also want a major league catcher who can control young pitchers. And pitching is an essential need now for the White Sox. With Chicago looking at Zach Wheeler, he's a right-hander, of course. Look at them to look towards Cole. Look at them to look towards Strasburg. I will be shocked if the White Sox do not pick up an arm to go into that rotation, along with Giolito, along with Kopech. Put an ace on that team with the young players they have. And I'm telling you, I'm loving the White Sox in 2020. I really am. Earlier I noticed Omar Vizquel. He will not be returning as a manager in their minor league system. Vizquel managed the Winston-Salem team in 2018 that featured Robert, that featured Madrigal. He's grown up with a lot of these kids. I'm a little surprised that they let him go because of his, the Latin influence there, the language barrier. He broke it down. He really inspired these young kids to play some great ball. So I'm a little surprised they got rid of him. At any rate, those players, they're here to stay, and look for the White Sox to make some noise. Let's talk about another team that I watch quite a bit, and that's the Texas Rangers. That's the home team, the Down East Wood Ducks, who I get to watch on a regular basis. And I heard Lenny talking about them at the end of his show, that they're looking where to put Nomar Mazero. Let me tell you, these guys have some good prospects as well. Did you watch the Futures game this past year? Sam Huff, the catcher. And now Phil Chaplin and I have talked about Sam Huff quite a bit. He's their number 2 overall prospect. He catches. He plays first base. Good power, good arm. Last year with the Down East Wood Ducks, he played at 2 levels. He played low A and high A. He hit 33 home runs, 27 of those at high A. He had 117 strikeouts, so he does strike out quite a bit, but great power. Sam Huff, look for him. He's a big kid. But he's quick behind the plate, good hands. Got to see him play a lot. I'm looking to see great things from him. Josh Young, drafted last year. He was the number 8 overall choice. He's a third baseman. He will be with the Down East Wood Ducks this year. I'm looking for great things from him. He hit 287 in low A at the beginning of his career. He's their number 1 overall prospect. He plays third base, probably a couple of years away from the major leagues. But the third base gap can be, if it can be bridged until Young gets up, look for him to be a great player. Look, Hans Kraus throws in the 100-mile-an-hour range. He has a 70 rated fastball. I'm going to get to watch him this year with Down East. Can't wait to see him. Last year I got to see Leody Taveras, an outfielder, just recently added to the 40-man roster. Bubba Thompson, who's their number 8 prospect, an outfielder. I'm telling you, the Rangers have hitters and they have pitchers in their minor leagues. Cole Winn, a right-handed pitcher. Keep up with these names because these are important names. The top pitchers there, Hans Kraus and Cole Winn. And I will get to see both of these guys at Down East this year. So if you're ever in the Kinston, North Carolina area, Lenny, if you want to come down, let's watch a game. You'll enjoy these kids. A lot of good prospects here. And I'd love to have any of you guys, if you're in Carolina, stop by and we will go watch us a game when the season begins. So that's just a quick look at the Rangers. Now, I'm not done. I got more. Aren't you ready? Because I love watching these minor league teams, and during the offseason, it's a great time to kind of catch up and look ahead towards what these teams do. I also get to watch the Carolina Mudcats, the Milwaukee Brewers farm team. Last year, they had some great events last year. Sometimes these minor league teams, they go way out of the way. They brought in Robin Yount. They brought in Rolly Fingers. I mean, it was just incredible. And I guess they'll be doing that again this year. But prospect-wise, Bryce Terang is a shortstop second baseman. He's the number 1 prospect in the Brewers organization. Now, remember last year, Keston Hiura came up second base. The year prior to that, he was with the Mudcats. And you've probably seen in previous shows, I have posted a picture of Keston Hiura and me prior to a game. 2018, he was at high A ball. Killing it, but at high A ball. Last year, called up close to being Rookie of the Year. But for a kid in New York and a couple injuries to him, very well could have been the Rookie of the Year, Keston Hiura. Great bat. Well, they've got some more at bats. On the infield, Bryce Terang, one of those. He is the 21st rated prospect. He was drafted in the first round last year. Played the Carolina League last year. Did not hit for high average, but he has all the tools. He has the run tool, the hit tool. Look for him in a couple of years. Tristan Lutz, an outfielder. Their second-rated prospect, played his whole year last year at the Carolina League. Hit 13 homers. He has good speed. He's a big kid. Lenny has mentioned Corey Ray. He's a Brewer prospect. Corey Ray is now up at the major league level, or will be. And Corey Ray I watched play back in 2018 in the Carolina League. Last year he made it up to AAA. Struggled there a little bit. This kid has all the tools as well. He has a 55 power tool, 60 run tool. He probably will be up this year with Milwaukee at some point and given the opportunity to succeed there. So these are just 3 teams I'm looking at this morning. We're going to dig deeper. Lenny mentioned the Cubs. I think I'm going to do them on a show really soon, comparing or contrasting them to their Southside counterparts, the White Sox. I agree with Lenny. I think the Cubs are on the downhill. Meanwhile, the White Sox are on the rise. That's just how I see it. So we'll take a longer look at that as we get closer into the season, as we go through the Hot Stove League. Any news on free agents today? Haven't seen any. No new updates on the Stars, who are yet to make millions somewhere else. I do see where Strasburg, has still being courted by the Nationals. And I don't think there's any reason to overthink this. The Nationals are going after Strasburg. They want him back, but if they don't get him, the Padres are there. I've read about the Angels are involved. Wouldn't that be a coup? And of course, the Yankees. The Yankees have got to sign a starting pitcher this offseason. That's all there is to it. We'll see what happens. Marcus Semien, I think Lenny mentioned him at the close of the year. He wants an extension on his contract. Look what he did last year. I mean, you talk about one of the most underrated fantasy players in all of baseball. It has to be Marcus Semien. What a breakout in 2019. Look here. Homers, 33. 92 RBIs. 285 average. He scored 122 runs. He had 187 hits. And he just turned 29 in September. So, if you're Oakland, don't you have to look at re-signing him to some extension? I mean, if you figure he's got 2 or 3 more years in his prime to age 31 or so, grab him, sign him up. I mean, and playing in that ballpark where fly balls go to die, yet he still had career numbers with 33 homers. What a year. I mean, to me, the most or least talked about player in fantasy last year, Marcus Semien. So, he's one I want to keep my eye on. I want to talk a little bit about some fantasy football. I've got a team. Here you go. I'm in a 14-team league, guys. 14 teams. So, translated, as far as free agents go, there is no meat on the bone. And I'm probably about halfway in the league in terms of points scored. But here's the deal. I've had the worst luck you can imagine. And just 3 weeks ago, I'm sitting here, I'm 3-6, and I know what I got to do. I got to win out. Well, I've won the last 3 in a row. And I've moved from 12th place to 8th place. And in our league, 8 teams make the playoffs. So, this coming week, I added a few players. And sometimes you add by subtracting. If you take players and other teams can't get them. So, I've done something that goes totally against the grain, totally against what I usually do. I now have 3 team defenses on my roster. And you say, why? Here's why. I've got Carolina, who play home against the Redskins and a rookie quarterback. I've got Philadelphia, who play at Miami. And I've held on to Baltimore. I don't really like them this week because they're playing San Francisco. So I've got 3 team defenses. So chat room, let me know, which one do I start? I'm not going to cut any of them because I don't want other teams to pick them up. I think clearly Carolina and Philadelphia are the defenses to stream this week. So that's who I've got. Also went and added to my roster Benny Snell. Well, who's Benny Snell and why would you add him? Well, here's why. Because he is the handcuff, it appears, by default to James Conner in Pittsburgh. This past weekend, he got 22 touches. He rushed 21 times for 98 yards in the Steelers' 16-10 Week 12 win over the Bengals. He also added 5 yards on a catch. It's really up in the air what's going to happen with James Conner. So I figure there weren't any good wide receivers out there. Why not add Benny Snell? I may not start him, but at least I've got him. Speaking of wide receivers on this team, here's who I've got. Not the greatest. First of all, I've got DeAndre Hopkins, who is really good, but he plays New England this week. I've got Terry McLaurin. Pretty good. He's at Carolina, and that's the 8th most favorable defense for a wide receiver to play against. On my bench, not a lot. In fact, only have one other wide receiver on my roster, and that would be Darius Slayton for the Giants. I got to start 2. Right now, I've got Hopkins and McLaurin in my lineup. My quarterback is Kyler Murray. They're playing the Rams, and boy, were the Rams ever more destroyed last night. Woo! So I'm liking Kyler Murray. My running backs, I got a bunch of these. You ready? I got Ezekiel Elliott. I've got Jonathan Williams, who was a stud last week for the Colts. I've got Joe Mixon. I've got James Conner. I've got Jamal Williams for Green Bay. And I've got, as I just said, Benny Snell for Pittsburgh. Right now I've got Ezekiel Elliott and Jonathan Williams as my starters. And then I've got a tight end. I've got to choose between Hunter Henry and Evan Ingram. And then I get a flex. And any of the players I've mentioned could be my flex. So I think I got a pretty good shot this week. Now I'm playing a pretty strong team. I'm playing a team that has Christian McCaffrey on it. Ugh. So I'm not looking forward to that matchup. But, hey, I feel like I'm playing with house money in a way. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you posted. And you never know. You got to play the game, right? If you don't play the game, you can't win. That's the way I see it. So we got to play the game this week, and hopefully, we will win. So here's what we're going to do. I got to get out of here. It's good to be with you on this Tuesday morning, and I hope you have a great day. I'm enjoying the sunshine here in North Carolina. I'm looking forward to great things with this network. I had a conversation with Lenny, and I don't know all he's up to, but I can tell you this. The man is trying to make this network the best network. And he's doing a fairly good job of it, might I say. In spite of me. You never know. But I am really honored that Phil and I will appear in that article, and looking forward to that. And looking forward to being with you again next week. Thursday's Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Pause for a moment. Give thanks. Thanks for the blessings that you have. And I tell you, you guys are one for me. Because even in tough times, I know I've made a lot of friends in my life, but I've made a lot of friends on this network too. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And I look forward to being back with you next Monday on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.